There was a wise man, a great artificer, and the Lord conceived love for him, and received him, that he should behold the uppermost dwellings, and be an eyewitness of the wise and great, and inconceivable and immutable realm of God Almighty, of the very wonderful and glorious and bright and many station of the Lord's servants, and of the accessible throne of the Lord, and of the degrees and manifestations of the incorporeal hosts, and of the ineffable ministration of the multitude of the elements, and of the various apparition and inexpressible singing of the host of the cherubim, and of the boundless light. At that time, he said, when my 165th year was completed, I begat my son Methuselah. After this too I lived 200 years, and completed of all the years of my life 365 years. On the first day of the first month I was in my house alone, and was resting on my couch, and slept. And when I was asleep, great distress came up into my heart, and I was weeping with my eyes in sleep, and I could not understand what this distress was, or what would happen to me. And there appeared to me two men, exceedingly big, so that I never saw such on earth. Their faces were shining like the sun, their eyes, too, were like a burning light, and from their lips was fire coming forth with clothing and singing of various kinds in appearance, purple. Their wings were brighter than gold, their hands whiter than snow. They were standing at the head of my couch, and began to call me by my name. And I arose from my sleep, and saw clearly these two men standing in front of me. And I saluted them, and was seized with fear, and the appearance of my face was changed from terror. And these men said to me, Have courage, Enoch. Do not fear. The eternal God sent us to thee, and lo, thou shalt today ascend with us into heaven. And thou shalt tell thy sons and all thy household all that they shall do without thee on earth in thy house. And let no one seek thee till the Lord return thee to them. And I made haste to obey them, and went out from my house, and made to the doors, as it was ordered me, and summoned my sons Methuselah and Regem and Gadad, and made known to them all the marvels these men had told me. The secrets of Enoch. The instruction. How Enoch instructed his sons. Listen to me, my children. I know not whither I go, or what will befall me. Now therefore, my children, I tell you, turn not from God before the face of the vain, who made not heaven and earth, for these shall perish, and those who worship them. And may the Lord make confident your hearts in the fear of him. And now, my children, let no one think to seek me until the Lord return me to you. Of Enoch's Assumption, chapter 3, how the angels took him into the first heaven. It came to pass when Enoch had told his sons that the angels took him onto their wings and bore him up onto the first heaven, and placed him on the clouds, and there I looked, and again I looked high, and saw the ether. And they placed me on the first, and showed me a very great sea, greater than the earthly sea, ruling the stars. They brought me before my face the elders, and rulers of the stellar orders, and showed me 200 angels, who rule the stars and their surfaces to the heavens, and fly with their wings, and come round all those who sail. Of how the angels keep the storehouses of the snow. And here I looked down, and saw the treasure houses of the snow, and the angels who keep their terrible storehouses, and the clouds where they come out, and into which they go. Chapter 6. Of the dew, of the olive oil, and various flowers. They showed me the treasure house of like oil of the olive, and the appearance of its form, as of all the flowers of the earth. Further, many angels guarding the treasure houses of these things, and how they are made to shut and open. Chapter 7. Of how Enoch was taken on to the second heaven. And those men took me and led me on to the second heaven, and showed me darkness, greater than earthly darkness. And there I saw prisoners hanging, watched, awaiting the great and boundless judgment. And these angels were dark-looking, more than earthly darkness, and incessantly making weeping through all hours. And I said to the men who were with me, Wherefore are these incessantly tortured? They answered me, These are God's apostates, who obeyed not God's commands, but took counsel with their own will, and turned away with their prince, who also is fastened on the fifth heaven. And I felt great pity for them. And they saluted me, and said to me, Man of God, pray for us to the Lord. And I answered to them, Who am I, a mortal man, that I should pray for angels? Who knoweth whether I go, or what will befall me, or who will pray for me? Chapter 8. Of the Assumption of Enoch to the third heaven. And those men took me thence, and led me up unto the third heaven, and placed me there. And I looked downwards, and saw the produce of these places, such as never been known for goodness. And I saw all the sweet-flowering trees, and beheld their fruits, which were sweet-smelling, and all the foods borne by them, bubbling with fragrant exaltation. And in the midst of the trees that of life, in that place whereon the Lord rests, when he goes up into paradise, and this tree is of ineffable goodness and fragrance, and adorns more than every existing thing, and on all sides it is in form gold-looking, and vermilion, and fire-like, and covers all, and it has produce from all fruits. Its root is in the garden at the earth's end, and paradise is between corruptibility and incorruptibility. And two things come out which send forth honey and milk, and their springs send forth oil and wine, and they separate into 4 parts, and go round with quiet course, and go down into the paradise of Eden, between corruptibility and incorruptibility. And thence they go forth along the earth, and have a revolution to their circle, even as other elements. And here there is no unfruitful tree, and every place is blessed. And there are 300 angels, very bright, who keep the garden, and with incessant sweet singing, and never silent voices serve the Lord throughout all days and hours. And I said, How very sweet is this place! And those men said to me, Chapter 9. The showing to Enoch of the place of the righteous and compassionate. This place, O Enoch, is prepared for the righteous who endure all manner of offense, from those that exasperate their souls, who avert their eyes from iniquity and make righteous judgment, and give bread to the hungering, and cover the naked with clothing, and raise up the fallen, and help injured orphans, and to walk without fault before the face of the Lord, and serve him alone. And for them is prepared this place for eternal inheritance. Chapter 10. Here they showed Enoch the terrible place in various tortures. And those 2 men led me up unto the northern side, and showed me there a very terrible place. And there were all manner of tortures in that place, cruel darkness and unillumined gloom. And there is no light there, but murky fire constantly flameth aloft. And there is a fiery river coming forth, and that whole place is everywhere fire. And everywhere there is frost and ice, thirst and shivering, while the bonds are very cruel, and the angels fearful and merciless, bearing angry weapons, merciless torture. And I said, Woe, woe, how very terrible a place this is. And those men said to me, This place, O Enoch, is prepared for those who dishonor God, who on earth practice sin against nature, which is child corruption, after the magic-making, enchantments, and devilish witchcrafts, and who boasts of their wicked deeds, stealing, lies, calumnies, envy, rancor, fornication, murder, and who accursed steal the souls of men, who seeing the poor take away their riches, and themselves wax rich, injuring them for other men's goods, who being able to satisfy the empty, made the hungering to die. being able to clothe, stripped the naked, and who not knowing not their Creator and bowed down to soulless, lifeless gods, who cannot see nor hear, vain gods, who also built hewn images and bowed down to unclean handiwork. For all these is prepared this place amongst these for eternal inheritance. Chapter 11. Here they took Enoch up on to the fourth heaven, where is the course of sun and moon. Those men took me and led me up onto the fourth heaven, and showed me all the successive goings, and all the rays of the light of sun and moon. And I measured their goings, and compared their light, and saw that the sun's light is greater than the moon's, its circle and the wheels on which it goes always, like a wind going past with very marvelous speed, and day and night it has no rest. Its passage and return are accompanied by 4 stars, and each star has under it 1,000 stars, and to the right of the sun's wheel, and by 4 to the left, each having under it 1,000 stars, altogether 8,000 issuing with the sun continually. And by day 15 myriads of angels attend it, and by night 1,000. And 6 winged ones issue with the wings before the sun's wheel into the fiery flames, and 100 angels kindle the sun and set it alight. Chapter 12. Of the very marvelous elements of the sun. And I looked and saw other flying elements of the sun, whose names are phoenixes and chakdriri, marvelous and wonderful, with feet and tails in the form of a lion, and a crocodile's head. Their appearance is empurpled like the rainbow. Their size is 900 measures. Their wings are like those of angels. Each has 12, and they attend and accompany the sun, bearing heat and dew as it is ordered them from God. Thus the sun revolves and goes and rises under the heaven, and its course goes under the earth with the light of its rays incessantly. Chapter 13. The angels took Enoch and placed him in the east at the sun's gates. Those men bore me away to the east and placed me at the sun's gates, where the sun goes forth, according to the regulations of the seasons and the circuit of the months of the whole year, and the number of the hours, day and night. And I saw 6 gates open, each gate having 61 stadia, and a quarter of 1 stadium. And I measured them truly, and understood their size to be so much, through which the sun goes forth, and goes to the west, and is made even, and rises throughout all the months, and turns back again from the 6 gates according to the succession of the seasons. Thus, the period of the whole year is finished after the return of the 4 seasons. Chapter 14. They took Enoch to the west, and again those men led me away to the western parts, and showed me 6 great gates upon corresponding to the eastern gates, opposite to where the sun sets, according to the number of the days, 365 and a quarter. Thus again it goes down to the western gates, and draws away its light, the greatness of its brightness under the earth. For since the crown of its shining is in heaven with the Lord, and guarded by 400 angels, while the sun goes round on a wheel under the earth, and stands 7 great hours in night, and spends half its course under the earth, where it comes to the eastern approach in the 8th hour of the night. It brings its lights, and the crown of shining, and the sun flames forth more than fire.